Well, hi, it's the end of the week. Why don't you just come on over here and sit down and I'll tell you a nice story. The Cascadia earthquake of 1700. You know, there are still what they call ghost forests off the west coast, whole forests of red cedars suddenly submerged and drowned. Whole villages of people, too. Countless villages gone forever. Villages full of sleeping people. The oral traditions said that it happened on a winter evening, shortly after everyone had gone to bed for the night. Just settled down to bed and then, my goodness. From tree rings and other evidence, geologists thought that the earthquake happened between 1680 and 1720, so a 40-year window. Over here in Japan, Japanese geologists thought, hey boys, maybe we can help out our brother geologists across the sea. You know, an earthquake that size would have made a pretty big tsunami that would have come right across the Pacific and hit us here. Would have struck land up around Tohoku. Hey fellas, they said, we have records of tsunamis and stuff that go back pretty far. Let's go check those records and see if we can find something. Now, how far back do those records go? Do they go as far back as 1680 to 1720? Oh, you bet they do. Try 684 A.D., the year that the Hakuho earthquake destroyed the capital, which was then at Asuka in Nara. I guess that's when they figured it would be a good idea to start keeping track of earthquakes and tsunamis. So anyway, the geologists went through all the records and, yep, they were able to identify that tsunami and close that 40-year window. You see, they had what they called here the orphan tsunami. Orphan tsunami. And that was a bit of a mystery here because it hit Japan just coming out of nowhere. There was no parent earthquake here to cause it, so it really blindsided them and they called it the orphan tsunami. Well, they knew what time it hit land here, so they just traced it back to the west coast of North America, and they figured that the earthquake struck December 26th, 1700, at 9 p.m., a winter night, just shortly after everyone was in bed. Now, this is a disaster and a tragedy, but I love this recent end of the story. You have Western scientists, Japanese scientists, and native oral traditions from all up and down the West Coast, all with helpful information, pieces of the puzzle, and what they thought were two different puzzles, but it all came together, helping out everybody. Beautiful. People working together. Friends helping friends, like these guys. As you're supposed to do, you know? Learned that. Oh, where did I learn that? Back in kindergarten, I think. That's why I wrote this book, trying to share these Fuji TV Hibagon cadaver photos with the folks back home, and the Hibagon history here in Japan, recorded so well, going back centuries. Hibagon being the Japanese Bigfoot. And I'm so happy that you you guys share that same spirit. And more on that in just a bit. Sasquatch Chronicles. Sasquatch Chronicles. Wes Germer has the best show out there, in my humble opinion. I love this show. Episode 807, Mr. Germer had a really terrific guest on. I liked him a lot. He talked about seeing a juvenile Sasquatch which looked like a little monkey. The episode is titled The Little Monkey. The guest, Mr. Hillen, commissioned a sketch drawn from his description. This is that sketch. Does that remind you of anyone? This guy's a little younger, I think. He might be a Sasquatch toddler. And this little guy is a little older. He looks like maybe a Hibagon second grader. But these two little guys, born an ocean apart, look to me like they could have been brothers from the same mother. I take this as good evidence again that we are dealing with the same subject. Hibagon, it's just the Japanese Bigfoot. Like, you know, you can make a beer out of rice, and it's not made out of barley, but it's basically the same beverage. I mean, it basically tastes the same and as good, and maybe that's not a... Okay, that's not a good example. But anyway, I'm going to email Wes Germer and see if he can pass this to his guest, Mr. Hillen. Mr. Hillen might be interested to see this Japanese cousin of his own little monkey. Now, I did email this week our friend at the Mount Hiba Prefectural Forest. I had a few more questions for him. You know, it's funny. When my wife gets through proofreading my emails, they're always swollen to about 3 times larger on account of all the polite Japanese formalities that she puts in. The barbarian and the geisha, that's us. That's about right. Now, next video, I'm going to tell you about some brilliant, absolutely brilliant work done by our facial reconstruction department. That's right, we have a new department headed up by our facial reconstruction clerk. Amazing work being done quietly, carefully, behind the scenes by this wonderful new clerk. I'm looking now for a seamstress clerk for a Team Hibagon flag. I want a skull and crossbones design, only using this skull. I'd like to fly that from the Hiba-mobile next time we go up to Mount Hiba. Well, it's Friday here today, over on this end of the world, and you know what that means. Campfire Day. So, I got promises to keep, and lots of sausages and marshmallows to roast before I sleep. But let's all meet back here again real soon to see what facial reconstruction clerk has been up to. Putting new faces on the one we love, the Hibagon, the Japanese Bigfoot. And I love you, so have a great weekend. I'll probably see you again before the weekend's out. And now I'm out of here. Bye-bye.